Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Demise, King of Armageddon, Ruin, Queen of Oblivion deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is an extremely budget ritual deck that's super fun to be able to play, and it's easy to board wipe your opponent with this deck, which is amazing. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name description every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Demise, Supreme King of Armageddon. This card is an amazing boss monster that has a really cool ability that while this card is on your side of the field, your ritual monsters cannot be destroyed by battle, which is an amazing effect for this card to have, making it super difficult for your opponent to deal with this card. It also has the ability, if all monsters used to ritual summon this card were ritual monsters, you don't have to pay life points to activate this card's effect, which is really cool because it has the ability that once per turn, you can pay 2,000 life points to destroy as many other cards on the field as possible. And if you do, inflict 200 points of damage to your opponent for each destroyed card that they control, which is a great effect to not only board wipe your opponent, but also do a little bit of burn damage, so it makes it easier to go in for game with this card. We then play 3 copies of Ruin, Supreme Queen of Oblivion. This card is really good as a 3 of in the deck. It makes it really good to be able to go in for game with this card and your copy of Demise, because this card has the ability that while this card is on your side of the field, your ritual monsters cannot be destroyed by card effects. So if you can combine this card with your copy of Demise, they cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects while they're both on the field, which is super cool. And if all monsters you're used to ritual summon out this card were ritual monsters, then this card has the ability to make a second attack during each battle phase, which is a great effect. To be able to just go in for game with this card once you board wipe the field with your copy of Demise. It also has the ability this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, and you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to the destroyed monster's original attack, which is a great effect. We then play 2 copies of Demise, King of Armageddon. This card is a great board wipe because it has the ability you can pay 2,000 life points to destroy every card on the field except this card, which is a great effect to be able to use with this card just to deal with everything on the field and go in for 2,400 attack points directly to your opponent's life points. We then play a single copy of Chalice Slime. Chalice Slime is great as a 1-of in the deck. Just get the exact incantation you want on your side of the field so you can start getting some consistency to your board and summoning out your boss monsters to your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Talismandra. Talismandra is amazing in this deck as a 3-up for your consistency because this card has the ability that you can feel a ritual monster in your hand to special summon both this card from your hand and 1 incantation monster from the deck. And if this card is special summoned from the deck, you get to add a ritual monster from your deck to your hand, which is a great ability just to be able to search out your copies of Ruin or Demise, which is so helpful about this card. The only downside to your incantation monsters is when they're on your side of the field, you cannot special summon from the extra deck, which is a big downside about these cards, but it's not that big of a deal because you have enough of boss monsters in the main deck with your copies of Ruin and Demise that you really don't need to summon from the extra deck all that often in this build. We then play 3 copies of Kandal. Kandal has the exact same effect as your copy of Talismandra, except this card works with ritual spells instead of ritual monsters, making it super consistent to get your ritual spells with this card. We then play 2 copies of Bookstone. Bookstone is great in this build as a 2-of because this card helps out a lot in the deck. Is if this card is special summoned from the deck, you get to target a ritual spell in your grave and add it to your hand. We then play 2 copies of Pencil Plume. Pencil Plume is great in this build as a 2-of and has the exact same effect as your copy of Bookstone, but this card lets you target a ritual monster in the graveyard and add it to your hand instead of a ritual spell. We then play 3 copies of Manju. Manju is an amazing card to be able to summon as your basically 1 of 2 normal summons in the deck to be able to use with this card because it has the ability that when this card is normal summon, you get to add a ritual monster or a ritual spell from your deck to your hand, which is great to be able to search out your copy of Ruin or Demise directly from your deck to your hand, or the End of the World, which is amazing to be able to search off your copy of Manju so that you can summon out your copies of Ruin or Demise to your your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Zaborg. Zaborg the Mega Monarch is an insane tech card in this deck and is our other normal summon that we have in the build, because with the incantation monsters, it's super easy to be able to summon out 2 monsters to your side of the field, and you're going to want to get those cards off the field, so you could special summon from the extract, plus they have 0 defense points, so it makes you very vulnerable to be able to have piercing damage. So you want to get those cards off the field, so by tributing them off for a copy of Zaborg, you can get a bunch of searches, which is amazing, because your copy of Zaborg has an insane ability that when it's summoned to your side of the field, you get to destroy a monster on the field, and then both players send as many cards from their extract as possible to the graveyard, but not more than the original level or rank of the destroyed monster, meaning if you destroy your copy of Zaborg, which is always going to be the card you're going to destroy with its ability, both players are going to send 8 cards from their extract to the graveyard, which is insane to be able to do, because we get to send cards like Herald of the Arclight from our extract to the graveyard, so that we get its ability to be able to get us multiple searches, which is insane. This card is really good in the deck, and I play a lot of targets in the extract for Zaborg because it's such a powerful card in the deck. If you resolve Zaborg, you're probably winning the game. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Incantation Inception. This card is a great one-of in the build just to help you ritual summon out your cards. We then play 3 copies of End of the World. End of the World is an amazing ritual spell that just makes it super easy to summon out your copy of Ruin or Demise. We then play 3 copies of Cycle of the World. Cycle of the World is the exact same reason as your copy of End of the World. This card just helps you summon out Ruin and Demise to your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Pre-Preparation of Rites. Pre-Prep is really good in the deck to be able to work with your copy of the original End of the World with the original Demise, so you can search them from your deck to your hand to guarantee that you're going to have a ritual monster and a ritual spell in your hand to work with your incantation cards. We then play 3 extremely spicy attack cards that I'm actually going to lay face down, and we're going to play Guess That Card. This card is a really cool 3-of in the build that helps out a lot to just go in for game, and is a crazy powerful card that I absolutely love in this deck. And we're going to reveal this card in 3, 2, 1, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and definitely hit that bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad, because we're on the road to 100K subscribers, so every subscriber counts. So let's go ahead and take a look at this really spicy tech card. So this is going to be 3 copies of Megamorph. Did you guys get it right down in the comments? Because this card is insane. This card works so well in the deck because your copy of Demise is going to get you to pay 2,000 life points. So this card works with your copy of Demise extremely well because it has the ability that when your life points are lower than your opponent's, the equipped monster's attack becomes double its original attack. But when your life points are higher, the equipped monster's attack becomes half its original attack, which is a big downside to this card. So when you activate this card, you're going to want to make sure that you're going to go in for game. And I always activate this card to be able to go in for game. So that's very important about this card, but it's amazing to be able to use as a tech card in this build because it's such an old school card. And I love using old school cards in decks. And this card is super cool in this build. We then play 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More. Dark Ruler No More is an extremely awesome card in this deck because basically you just turn your opponent's field off with Dark Ruler No More, and then once you do, you summon out your copy of Demise, board wipe the field, and it just is really good to be able to do that because it guarantees usually that your copy of Demise is going to go through, because once you turn your opponent's field off and you Demise one time, you're probably going to win the game if it resolves, which is just really insane. And it's super easy to do, and it's just a really good card in this deck, especially since you usually want to go second in this build. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with Herald of the Arclight. Now this card is a Zaborg target, and we're playing a bunch of Zaborg targets in the extra deck, because we don't really need to summon from the extra deck all that often. But this card is great because if it does touch the graveyard, it lets you add a ritual monster or a ritual spell from your deck to your hand, which is amazing to add either or of those cards from your deck to your hand when this card does touch the graveyard, and it's really good to be able to use with your copy of Zaborg. We then play a single copy of Cyframe Lord Omega. This is also a Zaborg target, and and it's really good in this build to be able to send to the graveyard. We then play a single copy of Wind Pegasus. Wind Pegasus is a great card to help you spin cards off the field, so this card is a really good Zaborg target as well. Play a single copy of Golden Cloud Beast. This card is super helpful to be able to use in this deck, because this card has the ability, if this card is sent to the graveyard, then you can target a face-up card that your opponent controls and return it back to the hand, which is a really good effect. We then play 2 copies of Elder Entity Nist. Elder Entity Nist is great at popping cards on the field, which is why I play this card as a 2-of in the deck. Play a single copy of Fossil Warrior Skull Knight. This card is great as a 1-of in the build because you don't have to immediately activate the effect of Skull Knight like your copy of Elder Entity Nist. You can actually banish this card anytime during your turn to be able to use its effect, which is amazing. And that's pretty much the Zaborg targets that I use in the deck, and it's really good to be able to use these cards in the build to be able to send them to the graveyard so that you guarantee that you're going to get some insane effects, like getting to search ritual monsters and ritual spells. This is the most important one out of them all, or using this card to be able to pop cards on the field is really good as well. We then play a single copy of Gustav Maxes so that we can do burn damage just in case we need to, because our copy of Demise and Ruin the Supreme versions are actually level 10, making it super easy to go in for rank 10s in the deck to just do that last little bit of burn damage with your copy of Gustav Max. We then play a single copy of Juggernaut Lieb. Juggernaut Lieb is insane to be able to use in this build because it makes it really easy to OTK your opponent. We then play a single copy of Number 35. Number 35 is kind of like a copy of Megamorph, but for basically every monster on your side of the field, because it actually makes your monsters go up by the difference between yours and your opponent's life points, which is really cool about this card, and it's super easy to put on your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Number 77. Number 77 is great to be able to overlay on top of your copy of Number 35, just to give Zeus an additional material. We then play a single copy of Zeus to board wipe the field, just in case you need another board wipe in the deck if Demise isn't enough, which it always is. I guarantee you it always is enough to be able to just make a copy of Demise and go in for game. We then play a single copy of Typhon. Typhon is just a good option in any deck, which is why we're playing this card as a 1-of in the build. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a Demise Ruin deck before, you should definitely give this deck a try because it's very budget. You don't even need every single card in the extra deck like your copies of Zeus and Typhon. You can play other cards that are more budget if you want to, but it's really amazing that basically if you can get a hold of the main deck, you can play this deck, and basically the Zaborg targets are really what you need for the extra deck. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.